I know I said nominations would draw to an end this week. Remember I said on the 25th is the cutoff date? Well, I did place a caveat, did I not? This is the ANC. Anything is possible. So the 25th of October came and went. Nominations are still happening. They will now be closed off on the 7th of November. So the party hopes. I'm not too sure, but we'll wait and see. It is doing things slightly differently. So previously, after the nomination period, journalists such as myself then expect the provincial general councils. Then you start doing another round of trips where you see and hear how branches have nominated. That will not be the case this time around. What's going to unfold is that there'll be a vetting process that follows nominations. So they'll be requesting CVs from candidates who are nominated. They'll also be asking them to say whether or not they're interested in the job. Do they accept nominations? Previously, that was done during conferences, so we'll know now sooner whether Ramaphosa is indeed interested in running for a second term, if Zweli Mkhize is interested in contesting him for that position. So those are the interesting things that will happen. The 25% threshold from the floor still stands, so you can still nominate people from the floor if you're in the party. If you're a delegate that is attending this particular conference, remember there's about 4,000 members of the ANC who will represent its branches at this particular conference. The PGCs will fall away, nominations will be done, they will then start vetting the candidates, but after that there'll be disputes. So there'll be the period of disputes, and then they're going to publish the list. They'll publish a list of the top 3 nominations for the top 6 positions, so 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, those who are contesting those positions. Then they'll publish 200 names that are nominated to fill the 80 additional posts. Now the additionals, those are the National Executive Committee members that ultimately will form the highest decision-making body in between conferences going forward. So the next 5 years of top leadership in the ANC will comprise of those people. We are coming from a week of former leaders. Remember, while this process is happening, there are people in and outside of the ANC who are attempting to influence the thinking of branches, what branches do. Remember, as branches are nominating, there are people inside the NEC, inside the ANC itself, who are attempting to influence how branches think, what branches should be doing as far as the leadership contest is concerned, influencing their approach to policies, what needs to be reviewed, what kind of resolutions need to come out of December when the ANC goes to conference. So this was a week of former presidents. Don't be surprised to see more things like this, the unexpected, unfolding as the ANC marches towards its conference. It is extraordinary, it is unprecedented, if you may, having 3 former heads of state, having public engagements all in one go. At some point, I wasn't sure who to follow. Tshidi Madia, they call him the Duke of Killarney, former President Thabo Mbeki, speaking in Johannesburg at the Monk, former President Kgalema Motlanthe, speaking in Drakensberg, where he held an inclusive dialogue, an annual forum that takes place out in the Berg. Then you have former President Jacob Zuma, JZ, coming out to say his piece. He's got multiple axes to grind, so he's really angry. He feels that the president is corrupt. He said as much at his briefing over the last weekend. But what's interesting about all 3 for me is them finding expression outside of the governing party. The ANC tends to draw within. The ANC tends to close rank when there are problems. But here you are having former leaders who understand very well the culture of closing rank, coming outside of the ANC to complain about things that are happening in the organization, but most importantly, how the organization is running the state. As far as Mbeki and Motlanthe are concerned, it's not new. We've heard them making warnings before, previously, concerned about where the country is standing, the trajectory that we're moving in. Motlanthe this past weekend saying that South Africa is at a precipice. Mbeki asking us to consider what to do around the Phala Phala saga. If it claims the highest seat in the land, and that is Ramaphosa's seat as president, then what does the country do? What does the ANC do? As I said, Zuma has multiple axes to grind. He's angry. The irony, of course, around Zuma calling Ramaphosa corrupt. Here's a man who's done so much to avoid facing his own corruption scandals in a court of law. So that cloud continues to hang above his head, but he can point fingers and tell us about other people who are corrupt. I'm going to leave that one alone. But all 3, I think, fail when it comes to the issue of accountability. I think all three have played some role or another in getting us to where we are, and I don't hear it when they speak, that they reflect often enough on what they did when they were leaders. I find that that's an issue for me. But what is also interesting about them coming out, it tells you that they're probably finding it difficult to speak within the ANC. My suspicion there is that they're not finding expression. They're met with some level of silence when they make suggestions about what the way forward is, and they found no other way to do it but to come outside. And I think that it tells you, one, about the state of the ANC, where former leaders don't feel comfortable just raising issues internally because they're not going anywhere. Second, it also tells you something about the former leaders themselves. These are powerful politicians, or at least were once incredibly powerful. I imagine that there's concern about their own personal legacies. There must be something to be said about a leader, in history at least, who tried to stop the rot. And I think that they understand it, particularly Mbeki and Motlanthe, that when it comes down to it, they want to be seen in history as having attempted to do something, to say something, to agitate away from where the ANC is driving the country at the moment. What was very surprising for me was seeing the provinces that came out in defense of Ramaphosa. Never in my dreams had I imagined that the people who will come to Cyril Ramaphosa's defense would be the ANC in KZN, let alone the provincial secretary, Beki Mtolo. Mtolo is a well-known Zweli Mkhize man. ANC in KZN did not back Ramaphosa in 2017, did not back him this time around either. The province is pronounced, and the likelihood is that the ANC's branches in KZN will follow suit. However, he came out in a strongly worded statement saying, former leaders, it's either you or the organization, and we will pick the organization over you. That you must respect Ramaphosa, and saying that Ramaphosa has not been found guilty in a court of law as far as Phala is concerned. I nearly fell off my chair, to be honest, because I did not expect that to come from KZN. But other provinces and other leaders follow suit. And the impression I got from that is that people understand that they must, again, close rank, that ANC culture of closing rank. And for some leaders, they want to be seen close to the incumbent because they're thinking about their futures. Politics, after all, is a game of self-preservation. I don't believe for a second that the defense of Ramaphosa is genuine. It is about closing rank because that's what the ANC does best. But also for some of the individual leaders who are coming out in defense of Ramaphosa, I think it's about where they will be come December should he emerge victorious. So a lot of the things that you're seeing are still about managing ANC diplomacy. What I do take comfort in, though, is that former leaders are saying put the country ahead of the ANC. That's not Jacob Zuma's mantra. It's never been. So that's neither here nor there. As I said, that's the victim. But the conversation should be what is best for South Africa. This, though, as the ANC and government mull over what is being done, at least attempting to give more expression to that State Capture Commission report that spoke about the amount of rot that took place in this country and how much was taken from state coffers for the very elite that we see in our political circles.